Welcome to the Life in Flow podcast.
The three of us, Yulia, Polina, and Irina, are exploring what life in flow and flow in life is.
Join us as we experiment, test our diverse hypotheses, and have fun in the process.
Will we find an answer?
This isn't just an intellectual discussion. We're co-creating a shared field beyond words. We're attuning to what emerges moment by moment so that the conversation itself becomes a group flow experience.
And we invite you to become an active participant in this experiment. There will be pauses and moments of silence. We leave them on purpose because this is where magic happens.
Go beyond the intellectual information. Listen with your whole body and notice how your somatic experience shifts in the process. Share with us what reveals itself in the space where mind, body, and energy flow together.
Welcome to the new episode of Life in Flow podcast. Here we are again, Yulia, Polina, and I, Irina, will be steering the flow today, while we'll be diving into the question how to feel yourself a part of something bigger. This project was born out of our search for group flow. We say that group flow is one of the most fulfilling experiences one may have in life. And we say that the more people experience group flow, the better the world will be, because we believe in it. And if we define flow as being one with the experience, then group flow is being one with the experience and with other people in it. So it's like double oneness with everything, all elements that are involved in the flow. And we talk a lot about interconnectedness of it all. We say that we are all connected to the world that is alive, so we are always a part of this flow of this life being that is the world and the life. So this aspect of being part of something bigger is an intrinsic element of everything that we're exploring in this project. And today I would like us to explore deeper what does it mean to feel a part of something bigger? Why we as humans look for this feeling so much? What does it mean for us? And what this bigger could be? And how can we create more of this kind of experiences in our lives if we can? As usual, we start our flow with our improvisation game, and I will remind to all of us, to us and our listeners, the rules of the game. I will say a word, and following our awareness of our somatic experience of our shared field, each will share a story that emerges for herself at this moment in association with this word. And while the others are listening to the story being shared, please pay attention again to the somatic experience that the story creates in you, in your body, and then share a story that emerges for you in relationship and as a response to this somatic experience. We will not define the order, so let the story emerge as the goal. And the word today is transcendence.
Descendants?
Transcendence.
Transcendence. Can you start us off?
What do you mean?
What does that bring up for you?
You always point to me. I didn't prepare any story, so I'm playing together with you.
Yes.
What? So the experience that comes to my mind is some years ago, I went to the concert of Porous in Barcelona. And this is a group I love a lot, or it will be more accurate to say that I love a lot their first album. And many people find their music quite depressing, which might be an accurate description, but I really find this depressiveness really very beautiful. And so while I was listening to their music at the concert, I was feeling in my body this sadness that their music produces in me. And I realized that it's like they say in one popular Soviet movie, it's as if your soul were expanding and contracting. And so I was letting myself flow with this expansion and contraction of my soul. And I realized that sadness is one of my favorite emotions, because sadness is the process of transforming the pain into love. And at that moment, I felt as if, like in my heart, I was feeling all this, like the pain of the world transforming in my heart into love that I was feeling for the whole world. That is my story.
Okay, what came up for me is another story, not necessarily related to transcendence, but about a year ago, when I had that experience with the breath of life that I probably mentioned in this podcast. One of the other realizations, well, not even realizations, but visceral experiences, when something happened, when you feel it in your body and you just know that this is how it is, was that I was at a very, very, very low point in my life then. And one of my experiences and realization was that I was feeling a lot of, I'd say, probably grief, maybe also sadness, maybe hopelessness. That was not mine because I was actually feeding myself from this giant river of the emotions that I guess humans and not humans um, have have somewhere, and the story doesn't, I guess, have a point. But anyway, for me, actually, the word transcendence and um, it's somehow it steers me towards something that's about avoidance, or I actually want to avoid something that's like here you're going into the area that you can probably not cope with, and or like in my passion for experiencing everything with my body, transcendence often means that you actually transcend your human form, right? And that is also something that in me it's like creates this contraction.
Thank you. I actually have a lot of reactions in my body to your story, but I want to listen to Polina's story first before I share mine more.
I don't really have a story. Transcendence brings up overcoming something for me and overcoming, transcending. So going beyond the limitations, right? Going beyond what the elements coming together are. It's actually the kind of the story of my life. So I don't know if I have one specific one, but let's say I wonder what other elements are in transcendence that maybe are not coming to mind now. Do you have the definition for it?
Nope.
I just wonder.
But I think it is about, like going beyond the limits of something.
Yeah.
Like I came up with the word of transcendence
Yeah.
because I was actually looking for something related to feeling a part of something bigger, and this the definition that AI, the Google AI gave me, a sense of belonging, meaning, and purpose derived from being connected to a group, force, or idea that transcends individual identity. So it is about going beyond
The
limits
norm.
of something.
Right. The definition I see. What? Sorry. What were you saying, Yul?
I'm saying tra, the is about the root is about crossing something.
Mm. Yeah, makes sense.
So experience or existence beyond the normal or physical. Yeah. Okay, so actually that changes it a little bit. Um, well, no, it doesn't. So, immigrating to another country was a transcendent experience because it went beyond the norm of anything I knew to be, the family unit knew to be. It went beyond the norm of the country. It was like an out-of-body experience, in some ways. Yes, the body came with, but everything was so. It was like landing on the moon in a way. So yeah, that's what it brings up for me. But honestly, that's really been the name of the game. So there's probably a million stories I could share. Like going beyond the normal of who I think I am or I experience myself to be. I mean, that's happened at every major chapter and through each chapter. And not just physically and mentally, but also, and not just emotionally, but also energetically. So I think that for me, that's where it lands the most, the ability to connect to energies, feel energies, circulate energies, reflect energies would be the most somatic experience of transcendence in my life currently.
It's very curious because, like, when you were talking about the immigration to the other country as as the experience of transcendence, I actually felt this, kind of expansion as going out of my skin. And then you ended up talking about the connecting to the energies. It really felt like physically like the transpiration process. Like we were talking about that we're porous beings, and so like this is something that goes in me and out of me, and it actually connects me to the story that came up to me while I was listening to Yule's story. And it connects everything because it's continuation of my story too. Because once I realized this, like, experience of sadness as transforming pain into love, I also realized, and it was the recurring lived experience for me for many years. Also, like leaving someone's pain as mine, although it's not mine. Especially, like this is, I think it happens to many of us who go into, coaching, psychology, and any kind of, supporting professions, that our ability to feel the other being is within us. That's what creates us the possibility to support, but also creates this problem that, like, we take in too much. But coming back to the transcendence piece, so like in my story, the transcendence has like two aspects: the transcending the pain into love. So it's like this transformation. It also goes from the limits of contraction into the expansion of love. But also the transpersonal experience, it relates to me to many family programs that I somehow find myself in the convergence point of transforming all of them. So I live in my skin, in my body, through many pains that many generations before me of my family trees from both sides have lived. And I somehow act as this transcendence point that convert all this pain into love for myself and for my family, for like transcending all these programs. And I believe also, for the rest of the world too, because as I mentioned several times, I think I truly believe that any tiny shift in the state of one person creates the shift in the state of the whole system. So, do we have any more stories to share?
I actually just want to add that I resonate with what you described about transcending family patterns. Definitely, that's definitely what is happening in this lifetime for me as well. And I like that you said you're transforming it as you're transcending into love. I am not sure what exactly I'm transforming it to as I transcend. Um, Definitely something in the positive and more empowering, but I don't, and I there are definitely elements of love in there, but I think there's also some other things, and I'm actually curious to find out what those other things are.
Okay. And what came up for me, Pauline, after you were talking that your whole life story is about transcendence, I was thinking, mine probably as well. And I could describe it as like seeking experiences where I could try out a lot of different faces. And I mean, I think maybe that's why I'm so enjoying now the improv. It's like so much fun to be where you can be anyone. Or now also transcending the human to human communication that I was engaged in for my whole life, to the communication with plants, trees, other beings. So yeah, I guess it's a hobby.
Transcendence as a hobby, I love it. Actually, it really fits. I feel like that's I could describe it that way as well. I love that.
And what is your hobby? Well, let me think. Transcendence.
We have a catchy phrase. Transcendence is a hobby. I love it. Well, I'm sure we will find by the end many points how to weave like the stories we have shared and reflections we have shared into the bigger question that I want us to explore and answer, or maybe not. Will we find an answer? We don't know. But one thing that I find curious is that so we normally seek for this like sense of belonging to something bigger, to a group, to like we will discuss it later what this bigger is, as because like we want to feel it as something positive. But curiously, what the motive that also emerged is that the other side, like this connection to the others, how it may also be a difficult experience and something that creates contraction and avoidance and wanting to run away from it. So we will see how we can weave it all together. But let's continue sharing stories, because my first question is, so like I want us to go down from the transcendence as something more abstract into something more down to earth. Or maybe not, I don't know. So, what is your most bright experience of belonging to something greater than yourself? And how did you feel in that experience? And what did that experience mean to you?
I have so many stories, but I'm just concerned that I might repeat the biggest story. But yeah, anyway, the biggest story for me was the one that I referred to that happened last year, where I was mm, again, a very low point in my life, and I was at a breathwork retreat with my um, breathwork coach, and there were psilocybin mushrooms. Um, and my question was, so what can I do to make myself feel better? Because I had tried everything. And I was like, okay, I doubt that you can find anything. You can find anything. I don't know who you was, but what happened was my answer came not from inside, but from outside. And at that point, actually, it was quite a revelation because I think I had been so hyper focused, which is quite in the modern human tradition right now. Okay, the point of control is in me. On the one hand, of course, I know that I cannot be controlling so many things, but on the other hand, like, well, it has to be me. Who else? Who else could do it for you? And then there was this like so this very intense experience of heat in my whole body and of love that was created by the breath of life. And the breath of life was all the life that I guess, we can say we are surfing. We discussed this metaphor, right? And I mean, that was so moving that I didn't expect that. I, I was like, I felt held. I felt held by life unexpectedly. Yeah, and then there were like me invited by trees and other beings. So like that story kept unfolding for a long time. It's still unfolding. But anyway, yeah, that's my story.
I want to point out that, don't worry that you are repeating this story because this time when you were, describing the experience, I actually felt in my body this sensation of being held. So it's really very vivid. Again, feeling experience, feel like I'm repeating the word experience all the time. Do we know this synonym for experience? I'm afraid not.
I also
So,
the energy of being held. What is
yeah.
the question? Because I always listen to you so fully that I have no idea what the question was.
What is your most bright experience of belonging to something greater than yourself?
And greater than yourself, we don't mean necessarily.
Whatever comes to you, whatever the definition you give to it. What can you feel belong? What can you feel belonging?
I don't know if I really, that word belong, I don't know that I engage with that word or that energy. Mostly probably because I always felt like I didn't belong from the very beginning. So I think that the word that I more engage with is things are in coherence or they're not in coherence.
That's great. but I'm sorry for interrupting you because I do want to steer into the belonging part. So are you saying that you never felt any experience where you felt that you belonged to something, someone, something greater than yourself? I do hope you feel you're belonging here, no?
Of course I do, but I don't know that I engage with that word even with us.
Okay, then you felt a part of something bigger?
I feel a
Does
part
it?
of the two of you for sure and of this project. I think it's in coherence. It feels like it's the right
Okay.
thing to be part of, and it feels good. Maybe when I think about belonging, if I have to, I think that maybe my biggest experience of belonging was when I started, not just started, during my transcendent process of shifting out of the old patterning and pain and shifting into a new way of being, which allowed me a greater access to myself. And not just myself in the here and now, but myself energetically beyond the here and now, maybe even the future self. That was a process of maybe feeling like I belong in this lifetime. Like there's a reason, there's it there. I feel the energy. The more transcendence actually happened, the more things shifted, the more things became more coherent, the more access I had to not just the here and now, but also like more of the future back to the here and now. That's when I felt like I could engage with the word belong because I understood why I'm in this timeline. So that I felt like it belonged. I'm sorry, it's a little bit out there, but that's the story that I can share.
Now, I think I can relate to the feeling. And actually, the next question I wanted us to ask is to share the stories of not feeling, the sense of not belonging, because I the prevalent sensation for me for my whole life also have been that like I don't fit, that I don't belong anywhere, not completely. And for many, many years, it has been like the cause of, let's call it suffering for me, because it's like I wanted to find this place, this group, this something bigger that I would feel that I belong, and I couldn't until, and this is like that where I relate a lot to this part when you say like I realized that I belong to this life at this moment, that I also realized at a certain moment that it's just the way I am, that I'm not built to be a part of something, because my nature is about crossing the borders. So like I'm always connecting worlds. So I'm crossing from one world to another. I'm always on the border. So I can be in both, but I never belong fully just to one world. And it's okay because this is who I am. And that gave me this sensation of inclusion into life, like this sense of my place in life. But I did have experiences of belonging into a group, and really like in this good sense, and like the most bright experiences for me are the experiences of group flow. And especially not when it just happens once, like, because the group flow may emerge spontaneously in a group, like at this moment, just because everything converged, like all necessary elements converged together that created this flow. But when there is the group, when this group flow happens on a regular basis, and when you feel that you're like, yes, I'm a member of it, I'm a rightful contributor to it, and it's not only about like my relationship with people. Only to me, it always was like, really, for me, the belonging creates this good sensation that there is a place for me here. And this place with other people that I know, again, as they say in a different Soviet movie, like I know when I come here, things that didn't work before start working. So this sensation that I contribute something that no one else could contribute to this process in this group at this moment. But the most beautiful part for me in that group experience is it's not only just that I belong, but as we also mentioned it, that everything, all the elements of the process belong together. So like it's this beautiful dance between each member of the group, each action that happens at the precise moment, and they all be coherent together. They fit as the pieces of the puzzle, and it flows, and there is a meaning. And I think the biggest feeling that these kind of experiences create for me is inspiration. So there's this kind of awe that, like, wow, we can create this together, and it emerges, and it feels like magic. And at that moment I feel love for those people and for us and for what we're creating, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah, I think, well, in response to Pauline, what you were sharing, that it's about you belonging in this lifetime, and what you also shared. I think that is the kind of experience that I had with this breath of life, because interestingly, I was thinking, okay, I mean, I was always close to nature, let's say. And yet I discovered then that my assumption, and this is also from a conversation with someone, most people, they say, oh, yes, we love nature. And then to the question, do you think nature loves you? They say no. And I think that had been my subconscious assumption. I never believed, I guess, that I was also loved and I was also accepted, and could truly belong. I could have a place, a real place for real. And that's why I think this was such a moving experience, because all of a sudden I was separate. I held myself responsible for everything, or I held maybe other people responsible for things. But then all of a sudden I was accepted, given a place, given love, given warmth, and the whole flow of life. And that was very beautiful.
I felt that like in waves of like expansion, and like I actually for the first time I think took a really deep breath. Thank you for sharing that energetic journey. That was really cool. Like,
Yeah, I also felt it like again this like the process of transpiration of energies.
yeah, really cool. I want to say that I like the words you chose here to say that I'm welcome here. There's space for me here, right? That's I feel like an easier thing for me to engage with when it comes to the word to the concept belonging. Um, because I have a bit of resistance to this belonging thing because like maybe there's a part of me that doesn't want to be identified by any one group or any one thing. I just want to be me, whatever that is, not like you're in this group. This is your description. This is what we do as a group, you know? Um, but I have to say that one of the most transcendent experiences of belonging, but in the way that I talk about it, was in Kasha's community, because the name of the game there is approval, like deep, unquestionable approval, which makes you feel like no matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, it's all welcome. It's all automatically accepted and supported as this is just another human having a human experience, you know? And then there's space for it. So it's like this, it's all automatically welcomed, and everyone in group is holding space for that. And whereas I don't necessarily, again, have that experience of belonging the way that that word is usually used, but I feel welcome. I feel like there's space for me and my experience is approved. You know, there's automatic approval, which is not something I maybe necessarily experienced with the two of you, of course. That's part of the equation here, which is why I think it really works, and it creates such a sense of safety and openness. And right, I mean, I feel like we come together and it's just all good, you know, like just everything's welcome. There's approval. But I think that because our experiment was smaller, I didn't fully yet get it, what that means, until I had the bigger experience on a larger scale. And I was like, oh, whoa. So if belonging is you are welcome, there's room for you, and there's approval, I think then that that works for me, if that makes sense.
It does make total sense. And it connects me to several like aspects of the what I wanted to discuss. Because like first, why I wanted also us to talk about not just the experiences when we felt that we belong, but also when we had a clear sense of not belonging, is because like only like experiencing clearly this not belonging may create for us the basis afterwards to appreciate what does it mean this when we finally find this, okay, like this is my place in life and I'm held and I'm accepted and there is approval of just my being. And I think this is sense of just being accepted. It's like accept our right, our place, like just our right for being. This is probably maybe what we're looking for when we're looking for this sense of feeling a part of something greater. I had an experience once, it was many, many years ago. And it was something like, it was the mental realization. So it was like insight, but at the same time, it was not the result of mental reflections, but it's something that happened to me in the body, like in the process. I was sitting in the cafe and I was writing down in my diary something, I don't know what. And I was looking at the people walking on the streets or the people at the cafe next to me. And all of a sudden, in my whole body, I felt that everyone in the world was feeling lonely. And so, like, everyone consciously or unconsciously was looking for this, like, way to transcend this loneliness. And that's why we are searching for this sensation of being part of something that, like, to overcome this separateness, as the Eric Fromm called it. But so what I liked also, and what you mentioned, Paulina, is the fact that, like, sometimes we might not feel, or not, we might not want to feel a part of a group, because again, depending on our, like, energetic constitution, our personality, our, like, energy building, and how we came to be in the world, we might be highly individualistic. And I don't mean it in a negative sense. And I hope we have one day the conversation about the individual versus the collective. But, like, on one hand, we might have this intrinsic inclination to look for this sense that I'm held, I'm accepted, I have a place in life, in this world somewhere, but here I have a place, here I feel accepted, my right to be. But at the same time, it's not necessarily has to take form of wanting to form part of a group. Like, there are people who don't like other people, and it's okay. It happens. That's why I like this definition that, like, belonging, meaning, or purpose derived from being connected to a group, cause, or idea. Because when we are talking here about this experience of, okay, I belong to this life, we're not talking about, like, I'm feeling part of a group. Although, I did talk about that my experiences were related to feel a part of a group, but also it's about this bigger could be an idea or something else. So look, what other, apart from, like, feeling part of life, a part of nature, a part of a group, what other bigger could be?
Experience.
Yeah,
Right.
actually.
It's a big connector for people, whether it's experiencing it together or coming together because of an experience that you share in some way.
Actually, yeah, like, thank you for saying it. This is the whole, like, this is the whole definition of the flow state. Like, when you are part, you feel one with the experience. So, like, you are a part of something bigger. You're a part of the experience, and it's not it transcends your individuality. Yeah, that's true. I think, like feeling a part of the experience is the biggest of it all. But then, so the most interesting question.
Wait, actually, I want to add something before you move on to the next question.
Please.
I want to say that now that we've had this conversation and I had a chance to reflect and it all synthesized in my head, Yulia was actually my first point of contact with feeling approved of. That experience when we met, the way she was able to hold space, I really felt approved. Like I didn't have to perform. I didn't have to be a certain way. She welcomed whatever I was going through at the time, which was pretty tough stuff. And I just really felt approved and welcome. And for the first time, maybe there was like a flicker of what it could be like to feel like you belong, even though it was not the type of belonging that we think of where you have to like attach and confine and define and it's like a box. No, it was really approval and belonging in the moment, in us just coming together with no specifics to it. And that was also a huge lesson for me, that it could be this loving and this grounding and this caring and this approving, and it doesn't have to have definition beyond when we come together. That was really cool. I just had to add that because that was a huge pivotal moment for me, and I think it's what made all the experiences I've had recently that more powerful and that more conscious.
Well, Pauline, it means a lot, first of all, and it's very mutual. And I had goosebumps because I had also quite unique experiences being with you. Yeah. Yeah.
I had to call it out to the space because it's really, this is where that belongs here in this conversation because it's part of it.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Non-verbal is such a big part of it. Like where you also have this freedom or feel that like you're free to be with that person without words. And it's just, I get field or whatever, something going in between, and there is a space. Yeah, that's really cool.
I do have a question to move forward, but I just wanted us to.
Yes, please do it. I needed to add that so that we can move on. It was important. I wanted to claim it.
So the question is, and we ask this question very often in our discussions, how can we facilitate this sensation of belonging, being a part of something bigger, greater than ourselves? And can we? Because, for example, from the experience that Yulia shared, it seems like that it just happened to her, and then like you wait for it to happen, to this transcendence and to this realization, this insight, like this experience in the body that like. And also like we say in Palina, you were talking about feeling the approval from the other person, so someone has to create this space for you when you feel approved. And when the other people don't take upon themselves this, then what then? Can we create somehow for ourselves, or facilitate it, this sensation of belonging to something bigger, or at least belonging to life, to the breath of life, being held by life?
I think so. I think that's actually how what I've described through my shares today. I'm sorry, I'm jumping in, Yul. I so for me, it was very important and pivotal to have an experience of approval from others. Yes, that was part of the equation, but also part of my experience with transcending was the connection to my higher self, my future self, coming back to the present moment, and then feeling like I belong in this timeline. And then the all of those elements together helped to create approval from myself, meaning I don't need approval from others when I am out in the world because I approve myself. And I think that transcends all the other variables when we're talking about it.
May I ask, what does connection to your higher self involve? How do you, like, if, for example, I have no idea how to connect to my higher self, like, what advice would you give me? How can I find it?
Well, for me, it was energy work.
Okay.
And I think also it's just something I came in with. I was always able to feel energies, but then when I started doing more directed energy work with connecting to, well, I think I've mentioned the frequency work was something that I did for many, many years, right? So I actually learned through observing, witnessing, and experiencing what it means to connect to your higher self. And so I'm just able to call that in now. It's always on, but when I put my attention and consciousness on it, it actually amplifies. And more recently, I learned how to really connect to the earth in a way that I never have before. Again, also thanks to Yula and all of her nature and all of those elements she brings in and uh yeah, so it is it's not meditation because it's really running your energy in a different way. And when I am fully on, the system is fully on and I'm energetically connected, I actually do experience a different sense of being in the here and now. And I'm able to hold that space for others. In IFS language, it would be, you're really connected to self energy. They actually have that language, so it's really cool. Internal family systems, which is a therapy approach. It's really cool that this a little bit of a metaphysical, like extra aspect is now also in therapy. I think that really speaks to like the direction of where we're all going. Sorry if I'm going off course a little bit, but I don't. There are specific techniques for how to do it, and it's just what I practice on the daily.
Okay, no, but of course, we maybe don't want to dive into the details of specific techniques, but what I take for myself, it's really like about paying attention to the energy, to like, and walking with oneself. Of course, like when we're talking about things like AFS, things with like walking with one's thoughts and therapy, any therapeutical process, it's just
But
walk of
also,
self-awareness.
Yeah, but there's also an aspect of amplification when you actually bring this into your more of your consciousness and awareness. It actually amplifies the field for you and for whatever moment.
I agree. I agree.
It's cool.
Yulia?
Yeah, Yulia.
What comes to mind is something that we discussed in our last episode, and that was about removal, and we discussed social conditionings, conditioning, and who we are as humans beyond social conditioning. If I look at those experiences of belonging, of having space, of just being and not having to do anything, to say anything, just swimming in this, I don't know, like space where I'm at home. I think the social conditioning was removed. Well, at least to some degree, of course not to. And those experiences were, for me, largely nonverbal. And for example, was about breathing and hyperventilating was my first one, where you just turn off your neocortex that's responsible for thinking. And then I found myself just being so content in love and totally connected to everyone in the room. At that point, probably not everything in, like, not the bigger part of Pulse of Life, but was a very big highlight. And then other experiences, they also were facilitated or happened when that removal took place. It's like you peel the layers that act as your protection to belong. Maybe not all the layers, and you can choose to which layers and how many layers to peel off. But then you end up being more porous and being able to exchange with humans and other beings what we have in common. And we do have in common a lot of things. Like a recent experience that I had was at a voicing ritual, and I mentioned it to you. But 2 hours, six strange people who saw each other for the first time, and we were just voicing. We were like vibrating with our whole bodies the whole 2 hours. It was, the facilitation was great, the human facilitation. But then at the end of it was total belonging with each of the people that we're seeing each other for the first time, but also with the bigger pulse of life, because we were literally with our bodies like praying to something, to whatever the prayer was directed at, with the whole body and the voice, and being totally held by the rest of the people. Yeah, so like peeling off as layers of social conditioning, which is well done with breath, for example, or with all this somatic stuff, or with movement, or with dancing and music, and connecting them.
And it's still like a group flow experience. What you're describing is a lot of these containers are really with other humans doing some kind of shared activity.
But also in with flowers, let's say, you also have to be in the space of not thinking. That means not conditioning, right? You want to go for sensing and for not being who you are in the human world to the extent that it's possible. I don't.
I'm still at the very beginning of that exploration.
Me too. Yeah.
But I actually just quickly going to share that I gave a workshop this past Saturday, and being in a room together with the other humans, right? And playing, experimenting with whether we should be accepting these limitations or not. And maybe there is actually a different way that is possible to show up when there's other humans involved in that exploration and activity. And then there's riffing between, right? And there's group exercises. I witnessed it. I witnessed how the energy went from like here to here, and it was just like expanding and become more was becoming possible, and there was approval because oh, those humans also have like these saboteurs, and this also shows up at work, and like the approval piece was really expanding this like group flow experience and really helped everyone to really truly walk away where they could have very easily gotten either shut down or compressed or just been like, ugh, whatever, right? But so this group thing, even though I'm still not into the whole belonging thing, but the group thing, there's something there.
But I also think that the piece of the removal from the social conditioning makes total sense because indeed, like if it is like feeling this deep unconditional approval is the prerequisite of feeling this belonging or feeling a part of something, then, or the feeling of being held, then you're like in the society, it's very difficult to get to transcend this like necessity, like to get approval from the other people, or there is the in another extreme, you're like, I don't care what other people think of me, but it's still you're like the other side of the same coin. So it's all about this you like game, the tug of war between the shelves of the egos. And I was thinking that indeed in many processes, when in a group or when I'm doing it on my own, there's deep, like shift in the state, the internal state, when I can be not only centered, but also deeply connected to my roots, to myself. And then I may allow myself to be open in the moment to whatever happens. Then when this happens in the group, then this feeling of shared belonging emerges, because then indeed we can allow ourselves to be porous beings and to be interconnected between each other, because there is no need for a mask. There's no need for this separation. But it is indeed, like we mentioned it, like to get this sensation of approval. Sometimes this experience, just receiving it from someone else, gives you this base, like the experience that you're like, this is how it felt. I can be this way. It's possible for me. But more often than not, I think it's about the inner walk, like finding this inner approval for myself. And then I can connect to the trees and to the breath of life, to other people, or to the cosmos.
There's an emergent property then. When you approve of yourself, then there's this emergent property of being able to find the welcome and the approval, whatever container you're in.
Yeah. But I also think that there is still the piece of the awareness walk, like it's about paying attention. One favorite psychotherapist of mine, like the woman who I follow and I love her teachings dearly, she often gives this exercise that she presents exactly as the tool for cultivating this sense of belonging to something greater. And she calls it the gratitude for Chinese walkers. So, and it's actually, there is the classical Buddhist meditation that is similar to to this exercise. It just invites you to think of like all the people involved in anything you're interacting with in your daily life, like this piece of clothes, like how many people were involved in creating it and bringing it to me so I could wear it. And in the same way, like everything that I'm using in my life, there are millions and millions of people involved in all these details of my day-to-day, like ordinary experiences. And so just creating this awareness opens up this possibility of awareness of our interconnectedness.
Yeah. And this brought up a recent experience that I had when I was in Russia. And again, it was a nonverbal experience of very deep connection and holding. And it was in a banya, in the sauna, where I did some procedures, like being, what do you call it, with the twigs, being
Spanked with the twigs.
spanked with the trees. But anyway, it doesn't even matter what kind of procedure it was, but it was it involved another person taking care of you. And somehow, for me, it was very distinctive how good these women were in taking care and holding others. They like fully embrace their role. Because like I shared with Irina, I of course I get those cosmetic procedures or massage or whatever. I go to people who provide some services. I think there was a difference either maybe in Russia a little bit that women embrace more fully at at the risk of sounding, whatever nationalistic, but I think they embrace more fully the feminine nature of taking care. But anyway, these two, they just created such incredible experience for me where I was like, wow, thank you for being there for me. I totally felt like that I was like, I guess I belonged in the experience certainly, but also like they were demonstrating something to me that I could also model and spread. It was just so heavenly, so heavenly. I was for several days. I was in this experience. It's like being physically held, being emotionally held. Yeah.
Wait, can you give us more details? Because energetically, it's so freaking ooh, I want more. Can you describe a little bit more how they did it, like the different elements that were present?
Well, in one example, in one case, between those being spanked with the twigs, she took me to uh, a cold pool of water. And what she did is like, okay, now you just lie down on the water and I'm going to be holding you.
Mm.
I was lying on the water, and the way she was holding me, was totally like, nothing else was needed. I was, I don't know, accepted, approved, belonging, made space for in my totality. And so we were there for I don't know how long. By the end of it, I was starting to get worried now. Oh, maybe I'm like getting to be too much for her. And she was like, "No, no, no, you stay." And then she described it to me. This is the sensation that we're looking for. Uh, have you got it? We can stay for as long as we want to. And then she was like, "Okay, what we want to create for you is." A sense of space, cosmos. That's it. And she was like facilitating this experience to help me feel cosmos.
Wait, how were they embodied? Like what were they like? Because I'm having a hard time imagining Russian women and holding this energy. Were they older? Were they younger?
No,
Oh.
no, they were. She was younger than me. That was like early 40s, maybe.
So they were trained in something specific. This wasn't just a regular banya where you just go and someone like, by the way, for the audience, you're not actually being spanked. I was joking. It's more about circulating the heat using these twigs and leaves, and it creates a really like circulation in the body, but also you're circulating the air, right? And the heat. Am I right? Just
Yes,
for
but
the
then you are connecting with the twigs and with the leaves and with the trees and with Banya and with this person who is there and with the universe and with the space.
the experience you describe as divine. I want to go and see those specific women and I want to have that experience too. Wow.
Well,
And women, I'm
I
telling you, they also in the second Banya, they were like totally embodying their roles of being like a little bit of Baba Yaga, but then more caring. And they were wearing even clothes that were like very special, and their posture and everything about them was okay. This is we create this space, we hold you in this space, we have this connection and unity with everything that is used here. And I mean, of course, it's a lot about nature because they use special twigs or plants or, yeah. So that was, wow.
Thank you for sharing because I feel like I have a little bit of what you experienced in my system now. It was like so energetically generative. Love it. Oh,
Yeah.
well, and this is the good generative space to start wrapping up our conversation. So I think it's also bring us to the point. It's not only about like finding it in the outer world, this holding space, but also from ourselves allowing for the space for the world, for the other to take care of you.
Mhm.
And this takes us back to the topic of trust. So it was a wonderful somatic experience, this conversation. Really many goosebumps and energetical transpiration and the energy flows between us. So in 1 to 3 words, what are you taking from this conversation today? With what we could close up.
I want to go to the banya with Yula and you. Take
Creating more space of belonging, not only between three of us, but also belonging with the Russian culture, Russian heritage. It's in another aspect of being part of something greater.
Totally. This is very true. This also, I think, went to my core because it was like coming from that place, and it was also belonging to the place that was there. Yes, that were my words. So.
Well, I take with me deep, unquestionable approval. It's something that we're looking for in the others, but also it's something that we need to cultivate within ourselves.
Yeah.
And it takes us to a different sense of being, which allows us swimming in this space where we're at home.
Also, I'd like to leave with maybe setting us up for another conversation about approval, because I almost feel like we need to reclaim approval, because approval used to belong in this weird, I think, category of you want approval, but you shouldn't want approval, right? Like all these dualities around it, all these like paradoxes. And then rebelling against approval, right? There were all these different things and that I also experienced. And then to end back up at the place where I love the experience of having approval, and not specifically for me, but I mean just approval from one human to another, to be welcomed with whatever the spectrum that they have of their human experience. That approval, I think, really is a powerful reclamation. And it goes straight to the wiring of us, right? The social animal creatures that we also are.
And on that note, I want to invite our listeners to share their stories of their experiences of feeling a part of something bigger, of feeling this unconditional approval and being held by the world, by the life, and what it means for them. We give you this approval and we invite you to our space. And we thank you for this experience.
Thank you.
See you, and we will meet you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening. How was it for you? We believe that the more people experience group flow together, the better off we all are. More connected, more creative, more alive. So let's expand the field.
If this episode resonated with you, help us spread the word. Share it with a friend, leave a comment, or give us a rating. We love you.
Do subscribe so you'll know when the next experiment comes out. You can also connect with us on our Life and Flow group Substack. We'd love to hear from you. Let's keep flowing together.